is complete. This night belongs to Las Vegas.
Milestone victory for Arizona. Michigan State University.
Georgetown.
Florida.
Indiana.
North Carolina.
Philadelphia. The Blue Devils are the national champions.
The thing that makes March Madness so special is that it captures an entire country.
It's the greatest sporting event in the world.
You've just seen history. This is unbelievable.
The winning, the losing, the crying, the hugging.
There's not a better 3 weeks in sports.
Nothing like March Madness.
What makes March Madness special is the unknown.
Survive in advance.
One timeout, they don't take it.
Great moments are made from great opportunities and great players stepping up on the biggest stage.
Smart takes the shot. Ticket for the championship.
March Madness is where dreams come true.
March makes legend out of a lot of people.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up.
You get a chance to see great players, great coaches, terrific plays.
Michael Jordan. Wittenberg. Oh, that's a long ways. On the dunk.
It's the best for the fans. I'm not so sure it's best for the coaches. One bad day and you're going home.
It's sudden death. Those kids, those seniors, often are playing in potentially their last game ever in college.
You got to be at your best. The pressure's at its highest. It's one and done. You lose, you're out.
Anyone can beat anyone on any given day.
Rock, Shaka, Jayhawk, the Rams are going to the Final Four.
You never know who's going to win the game. Anything can happen. Everybody really has a chance.
Shock and awe in college basketball. UMBC makes history.
There's not many sports where the little guy has a chance to beat the big guy.
A one loss to a 16. Devastating. First time ever. And they win the national championship the next year.
And Virginia with the all-time turnaround title.
That's March Madness.
And welcome, everyone, to our Inside the Bracket presented by Reese's. I'm Andy Katz here in our March Madness studios in Atlanta, Georgia. As you see on your screen, the number one overall seed, the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Well, it is a business trip. There's no question about it. And the Zags on their way Sunday night to Indianapolis. The Baylor Bears are also a number one seed. They're the number one seed in the South, Gonzaga in the West. The Bonaventure, St Bonaventure winning the A-10 regular season and tournament title Sunday afternoon in Dayton. They were going to get on the bus ride a couple hours away from Dayton to Indy after winning that. And how about Drake? So many injuries, early pause, ends up getting into the NCAA tournament out of the Missouri Valley Conference. The Valley getting two bids, Drake and Loyola Chicago and Wichita State. I believed in the Shockers. Yes, I did. Because Wichita State won the American Athletic Conference, beating Houston, and I did believe the committee would respect a conference regular season champion. No question about it that they were going to do that, and I believed it. And before we get going, a couple of things here, because what we're going to do, let me lay out the sort of layout of what we're doing here on Inside the Bracket presented by Reese's, which, by the way, at the end of the show, I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know there would be free Reese's here because this is by far my favorite candy, and I'm not just shilling here. This is a fact. When my kids were trick-or-treating, I would steal all the Reese's, so I'm going to eat not all three of these at once, but definitely going to have a bunch of them. Anyway, a couple things. First of all, a big thank you and congratulations to all the stakeholders in college basketball to make this happen. It was a year ago when all our worlds came crashing down and we were in basically isolation. There was a shutdown across the globe. This was the one sporting event in the American sporting calendar that didn't get completed. All the other pro sports, the high major college sports got their chance. College basketball did not. And it took incredible work, sacrifice from everyone involved, from the coaches, the players, the officials, the athletic trainers, the medical professionals, the nurses, the doctors, the frontline workers. Thank you to everyone to allow us to get back to this special time of the year that we all so dearly love, that follow March Madness. And so we've got ourselves a tournament. No question about it. This is going to be, I think, one of the most intriguing, even though we've got some heavy favorites. There are going to be upsets, as there always are, but the quality of play, and I think that's key here, the quality of play that we saw during the regular season was high. There's no question about it. Offensively, defensively, we've got some pretty special talents out there, especially in this freshman class, that are going to be certainly showcased. Now, there won't be a couple of blue bloods. We know that, but that's okay. We've got plenty of fresh faces that are going to dominate the landscape. And look, we ended the conference tournament champ week with an overtime game between Illinois and Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament title in Indianapolis for the best conference this season, the Big Ten. And what a fitting way to have an overtime game and have Illinois win it. So here's how we're going to do this. These are my picks. You can obviously take them or leave them. I would hope you take them. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to go basically round by round. I want to explain what they're doing differently this year with the NCAA tournament that I think they should really keep. And that is, each day of the NCAA tournament, it's going to be one side of the bracket. It's going to be so much easier to follow. Obviously, the pod system worked when we were in different parts of the country, but with everything in the state of Indiana and the greater Indianapolis metro area outside of the first four and first round at Indiana and Purdue, it just made it easier this way. So those first four games will be on Thursday, True TV and TBS, and those games will feed into Saturday's first round, which will be the left side of the bracket. So that's the West and the East. The traditional first round will start on Friday, and that will be the South and the Midwest. And then obviously Sunday, Monday will conclude the first and second round. And then the following week, Saturday and Sunday, got the Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, Monday, Tuesday, and then we end with a traditional Final Four on the Saturday and Monday, the first Saturday, Monday of April, April 3rd and 5th. So let's start with the West Region first round, okay? Remember, these games will be on Saturday, okay, because the first four feeds into this. And after each round, I should say, we're going to take some of your questions. So we're going to go round by round and then your questions. Let's start off here in the first round. In the Norfolk App State 16 game, I'm actually selecting Norfolk State to play Gonzaga, okay? And then I've got Gonzaga moving on, as I'm sure everyone else would. Oklahoma, Missouri. That's a really good game between two veteran teams. This was probably the toughest game, as it should be, for me to pick, with an 8-9. Oklahoma struggled a little down the stretch, and Missouri was inconsistent, but that had a lot to do with when Jeremiah Tillman was not with the team. I went back and forth with this. This is two old rivals now in separate conferences, the SEC and the Big 12, used to be in the old Big 8. I'm going with Oklahoma to advance to play Gonzaga. Let's move down to Creighton UCSB. This is tough. If you would ask me a question a couple weeks ago whether or not I would pick UCSB over Creighton, I would have said no way. But Creighton really struggled. I know they got to the final by outlasting UConn in the Big East tournament, but then they lost to Georgetown. Obviously, there's been a lot of turmoil with Greg McDermott. He's back on the bench. But I just feel like there's something disjointed about this Blue Jay team. UCSB has been on a great roll in the Big West. They beat Irvine to win the Big West tournament. Shout out to Joe Pasternak to get to the NCAA tournament the first time as a head coach, former assistant to Sean Miller. I got the Gauchos in the first 12-5 upset that I'm picking in this bracket. Virginia, Ohio. Virginia had to withdraw from the ACC tournament, but they let the selection committee know that they can field the team. So they're in this bracket. Obviously, we hope they have 7 days of negative testing so that they can play this game. I expect they will. Going against Ohio, which ended up winning the MAC, the favorite Toledo Rockets end up not winning. But I'm going with Virginia. They were playing well. They won the ACC regular season, so I got the Cavs advancing. USC taking on Wichita State Drake. I'm going with Wichita State beating Drake Winners of the American, Wichita State, got upset in the AAC tournament, but I love USC. Evan Mobley is arguably one of the top 3 players in the country, top freshman. You're going to love watching him in the NCAA tournament as a big man who can step out and do a little bit of everything. Kansas, Eastern Washington. So it's interesting here. You've got 2 teams that had to deal with pauses that had to withdraw from their conference tournaments. KU, same situation as Virginia. They told the NCAA they can play. We hope they can. And I think they win this game. I think they beat the Eagles and advance in the first round. Oregon, VCU. Oregon got upset by Oregon State in the Pac-12 tournament, but they'd been playing very well prior to that. They won the Pac-12 regular season title. VCU got to the title game of the A-10, losing to the Bonnies on Sunday. I like Oregon. I just think their athleticism is going to be too much of a problem for VCU, even though VCU is athletic in themselves. But I just love the way Oregon plays under Dana Altman. Now you go to Iowa, Grand Canyon. So great for Bryce Drew of Grand Canyon to get to get GCU there in his first year after taking over this job during a pandemic, got fired at Vanderbilt, and look, he's back in the NCAA tournament, leading Grand Canyon, school out of Phoenix, but they're going against Luka Garza, Joe Wieskamp, Jordan Bohannon. I like the Hawkeyes to win that first round. All right, so now let's continue down to the East and do the first round there. Michigan was the top seed in the East. Interesting 16-game here. You got Mount St. Mary's taking on, actually, I should say Mount St. Mary's, Texas Southern. Yes, quick change there. Yes, it's Texas Southern taking on Mount St. Mary's. We'll get that tweak there for you. And so Mount St. Mary's, Texas Southern, I've got Mount St. Mary's advancing out of that 16 game and getting on to play Michigan. So a lot of people wanted an App State game. That's not happening because they're playing, obviously, Gonzaga. But so, look, Mount St. Mary's actually looked pretty good. Very physical team in their win over Bryant in the NEC. But I like the Wolverines advancing even without Isaiah Livers. Okay, we've got the change in there in Texas Southern, so we're updated. All right, LSU St Bonaventure. LSU played Alabama extremely close in down to the last possession in the SEC title game. The Bonnies won the A-10 regular season and the conference tournament title. But LSU's offense, I think, is going to be too much for St. Bonaventure. As much as I'd like to go for the underdog here, I'm going with the Tigers. LSU advances to play Michigan. Colorado, Georgetown. I really debated this one in the time we've had in looking at this bracket. The Buffaloes ended up losing late to Oregon State. My issue with Colorado, as much as I love McKinley Wright and Evan Batty and all they've meant to the Buffaloes and Tad Boyle in their program, they've just not been consistent. So I'm riding the hot hand. I think Patrick Ewing keeps this thing going. What a start that they had, run that they had in the Big East tournament. I think the Hoyas get this one, my second straight 12-5 upset. Georgetown beats Colorado. Florida State taking on UNCG. UNCG can score, but Florida State defends better than anyone. Seminoles advance. They lost in the ACC title game to Georgia Tech. Florida State advances. Okay, Michigan State, UCLA. A lot of discussion about whether or not this should have been a first four. Well, it is. I like the Spartans. UCLA has not played well down the stretch, and that's been troubling. They're going against a BYU team, though, in my opinion. Got seated pretty close to where I thought they would be, which is a 6, and they can score. They really gave Gonzaga fits for about 30 minutes. I think BYU advances out of that 6-11 game into the second round. Texas, Abilene Christian. Abilene Christian won the Southland. The Longhorns, though, won the Big 12. They advance. All right, this was really tough. Uconn, Maryland. Wow, this could be a great game. James Bouknight, R.J. Cole, Eric Ayala. Darryl Morsell is the best defender maybe in this tournament on the ball. And I think Morsell is going to be on Bouknight, and I think he's going to frustrate the heck out of him. So I got Maryland getting past UConn in a 10-7 victory. Alabama, Iona. Rick Pitino, can he pull off the upset? Well, he could do wonders as a lower-ranked seed in the MAC. I just don't think he's got the personnel to knock out Alabama, which just won the SEC regular season title and the tournament. Alabama advances. So That is my first round in the East. Let's go to my first round in the South. Baylor is the top seed in the South as expected. As we shift over to the South region, they'll take on Hartford. John Gallagher's Hawks getting into the NCAA tournament for the first time out of the America East. But Baylor's going to advance. Obviously, way too much size, strength for the Hawks. Now, this was an incredibly difficult game for me to pick. North Carolina, Wisconsin. The Badgers have really struggled consistency-wise. They've not beaten a team above them in the Big Ten standings. Carolina's been all over the map, but I love Carolina's size, whether it's Garrison Brooks, Walker Kessler. They've got depth up front. I think Carolina advances here over the Badgers. Now, this is where I know a lot of people want to go with a Winthrop-Villanova upset in a 12-5. Pat Kelsey's group, the Eagles. But here's the problem. You're giving Jay Wright a week to prepare here. No Colin Gillespie. Now he's got a week to prepare without Colin Gillespie. We don't know about Justin Moore's status, but I like Nova giving this much time. I think Villanova advances. Purdue, North Texas. North Texas beat Western Kentucky in CUSA, Conference USA. But I love Purdue's size with Zach Edey and Travion Williams. And I love Jaden Ivey. I think he's going to be a star. Purdue advances. Texas Tech, Utah State. Utah State, I did not have in the field. I debated about Utah State and Wichita State. I chose Wichita State. It was actually Utah State or Louisville. Louisville was out. Utah State was in. I'm not feeling Utah State here. You know, their inconsistency has been an issue as well. Even though they played well down the stretch in the Mountain West, I like Texas Tech. I think Mac McClung is going to have a big game in this game. Remember, Utah State's weaker on the perimeter. They got strength inside. I like Mac McClung to take the Red Raiders. Arkansas, Colgate. It's going to be a lot of shots going up in this game. We saw Colgate beat Loyola Maryland in the Patriot League final on Sunday, but I like the Hogs. Big Suey on this one. Arkansas advances into the second round. Florida, Virginia Tech. I wanted to take the Hokies, but the Hokies have not come back off their pause well. They were down for quite some time. I'm going Gators. I just think Gators, the timing is right for Florida to get this one, not for the Hokies. Ohio State, Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts looked really good in winning the Summit. It's a bit of an upset, but the Buckeyes, overtime lost to Illinois in the Big Ten tournament. They advance. Let's go now to the final part of the first round. Down in the Midwest, we're the number one seed, Big Ten tournament title champs, Illinois. Illinois, Drexel. Drexel won the Colonial Athletic Association. Illinois is rolling right now. I love Andre Curbelo. And, of course, Ayo Sumu and Trent Frazier. DeMonte Williams played well in the Big Ten tournament. Illinois advances. Loyola, Chicago, Georgia Tech. Another really good first-round game. Georgia Tech defends. Jose Alvarado, you saw him in tears, what it meant to him to make the NCAA tournament. Moses Wright was the ACC Player of the Year. But I got to ride with the Ramblers here. Cameron Krutwig, he's been here before as a freshman to the Final Four. I like the Ramblers to set up a match in the state of Illinois between Illinois and Loyola Chicago. Sister Jean will be happy with that one. Tennessee and Oregon State. Wayne Tinkle's Beavers ended up winning the Pac-12 tournament. How about this? They were picked 12th. They're a 12th seed. Look, John Fulkerson out with a vicious shiner. We don't know his status, concussion protocol. So that's going to hurt the Vols. Another 12-5 upset. Like Georgetown advancing, I got the Beavers continuing their run. Oklahoma State Liberty. Richard McKay's done an outstanding job with the Flames, getting them in and year out. But Cade Cunningham and the Cowboys, they're advancing to the first round. Okay, I went back and forth at least 5 times on this next game. San Diego State has been rolling through the Mountain West in the last month. Won the regular season and the conference tournament. Syracuse lost at the buzzer to Virginia. Buddy Boeheim. Yes, Jim. Buddy Boeheim, one of the best shooters in the country. 31 against Virginia. He's going to stroke it. Now, he'll get defended well here. But once again, I'm giving Jim Boeheim a week to prepare for San Diego State. And I think the Aztecs will struggle against the Syracuse zone. I got Syracuse advancing in 11-6. West Virginia Morehead State. Huggy Bear should have been in the Hall of Fame. Didn't happen. Deuce McBride and Derek Culver, that 1-2 punch. I like the Mountaineers in an old Big East rematch here, Syracuse, West Virginia. Clemson, Rutgers. Saw Rutgers get drilled by Illinois, but they did knock off Indiana. I think they're going to be so hungry, like Northwestern, when they got in for the first time ever in 2017. This will be the first time for Rutgers since 91. I think Rutgers gets Clemson. Houston, Cleveland State. How about Cleveland State at 15? I think that was when they upset, if I'm not mistaken, when they had their big upset years ago. Was it Indiana or Syracuse? I'm drawing a blank here. They were 15, if I'm not mistaken. Not going to happen here. Houston wins the American conference tournament. They advance to play Rutgers. All right, so I'm going to take a breath. We've gone through the whole first round. Pick some upsets here. Let's go to a couple of questions, and we'll answer them here before we go to the second round in the same fashion. All right, from Malcolm Oglesby. It's always difficult to choose the 8-9 matchups. Which 9 seed do you feel has the opportunity to pull the slight upset? So, if you were following along, I know these were submitted right before, but I struggled with these. I could have gone Mizzou, Oklahoma. I did not. In the LSU Bonnies, could have gone Bonnies. I did not. In the Carolina, Wisconsin, I could have gone Wisconsin. I did not. And then in the last one, Georgia Tech and Loyola, I could have gone Georgia Tech, and I did not. So, but if I have to pick one of them, I probably would go Georgia Tech. That would be the one I would say. I didn't pick any 9 speed 8s, but if I would go Georgia Tech. Next question. All right, the replacement aspect needs further elaboration. So if a 16 seed, and this comes from Cal Haneker, if a 16 seed has a positive test by Tuesday and it's a 16 seed, Louisville is a 16. If it's Illinois, Louisville becomes a 1 seed. Okay, that's not true. Let me clarify that for you. If a team that was an automatic qualifier, and all the 16s were automatic qualifiers, tests out of the NCAA tournament, then that conference sends a replacement. If in a large school tests out, then yes, Louisville, which was the top team left out, would be the replacement. So technically, yes, what you are seeing on your screen would be correct. Louisville would end up replacing Illinois if that's where to happen, and they would be a 1 seed. Yes, that's the way it would happen. There's no other way you could do it. You can't redo the whole bracket. So the 4 teams were Louisville, Colorado State, St. Louis, and Ole Miss. They were the 4 teams that were the first 4 out. All right, let's continue our picks. We're now on to the second round up in the upper left quadrant, the West. These games will be played on Monday. These are Monday second round games. Gonzaga, Oklahoma. I'm riding the Zags. I think offensively there'll be too much trouble for the Sooners. Santa Barbara, Virginia. This is where Cinderella ends for the Gauchos. Virginia advances. We got a rematch from December 26th in Fort Worth. Down at the bottom, USC and Kansas. I'm going with USC to beat Kansas. David McCormack did not go to the Big 12. Don't know his status. I love Evan Mobley in the middle there. Going Trojans. Oregon, Iowa. It's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. But you know what? Luka Garza is going to get his mini run here in the NCAA tournament. Iowa advances to play USC. So there's your Sweet 16 in the West. Gonzaga, Virginia, USC, Iowa. We'll revisit that shortly. Let's go down to the East. If we can, we'll shift down to the East second round. Michigan, LSU. This is where LSU's Cinderella run ends. The Wolverines, even without Isaiah Livers, I feel they get the best of the Tigers. Georgetown, Florida State. Whew, it's a good matchup. But Florida State, Leonard Hamilton of late has really done well in the NCAA tournament. I think defensively they throttle the Hoyas. I like Florida State. We got a Michigan-Florida State rematch from a couple of years ago that was deep in the NCAA tournament. I believe that was an Elite Eight game. BYU Texas. Once again, a lot of points being scored in this game. But the bigs of Texas, Greg Brown, Kai Jones, I think there's going to be too much problems for Matt Harms. I got the Longhorns advancing here. Maryland, Alabama. Real tall task for the Terps because Alabama can just absolutely launch from anywhere. And I think this is where the Terps run ends, which it would be a great accomplishment for Maryland to get to the second round after what was supposed to be a bridge year. But I got Alabama advancing. So that's your Sweet 16. In the East, Michigan, Florida State, Texas, Alabama. I think the committee would certainly take that, and so would our viewers. Now let's go to the South. Second round. Baylor, North Carolina. Okay, that's going to be a lot of ripping and running. It's going to be fast track meet, but I got Baylor advancing. Their guard play is just far superior. Okay, here's where it becomes a problem for Villanova with no Colin Gillespie. I just think that Purdue's size, I think their strength in the wings will be an issue, and Purdue wins. Baylor, Purdue. Texas Tech, Arkansas. Woo! It's going to be a good one. But I'm going to lean Texas Tech. Chris Beard lately in the NCAA tournament, it's hard to go against him. I'm going Texas Tech over Arkansas. That's going to be a great game. Florida, Ohio State. Florida's been way too inconsistent. I'm going Buckeyes. Ohio State, one of the best teams in the country. And Dwayne Washington's on fire right now. All right, let's go now. So that's your Sweet 16. Baylor, Purdue, Texas Tech, Ohio State. Second round in the Midwest. Illinois taking on Loyola Chicago. Too bad that game's not being played up at like Allstate Arena or the United Center. But I'm going with Illinois. They advance. They're one of the best teams in the country right now. Oregon State, Oklahoma State. Cade Cunningham got the Cowboys to the Big 12 title game. He's going to get them to the Sweet 16. Syracuse, West Virginia. Okay, this is where the orange run ends. I go Huggy here. Mountaineers just too tough for the orange. So West Virginia advances. Now, Rutgers, Houston. I'm going Rutgers. I think Rutgers is going to go on a mini run here to the Sweet 16. Experienced team, Geo Baker, Ron Harper Jr., money players, Miles Johnson, great big inside. I like Rutgers to upset Houston and advance to the Sweet 16. Rutgers, West Virginia, Illinois, Oklahoma State would be your Sweet 16 in the Midwest. Woo! All right. So before we get to the Sweet 16 reveal, let us pause and take a couple questions. All right. Which 12 seed has the best chance to make noise? Well, I did pick two of them. UCSB to beat Creighton. And then Georgetown, I actually picked three of them. Georgetown to beat Colorado and Oregon State to knock off Tennessee. To get to the Sweet 16, I would say the one that has the best chance is, believe it or not, Georgetown. Even though I love Florida State, I would think there'd be the one that could have the best chance to make a deep run, deeper. Thank you, Ann. All right, let's keep going. Another question here. Which injury will have the biggest impact for a team in the tourney? Well, I think it's going to ultimately be Isaiah Livers from Michigan. I think that's the injury that prevents Michigan, as you will see, from getting all the way potentially to the Final Four and winning it. All right, now let's shift to the Sweet 16. Let's keep this thing rolling. Let's go to the Upper West. So this will be the Sweet 16 the following Saturday, Sunday. Elite Eight will be Monday, Tuesday. Rematch, December 26th. Gonzaga blew up Virginia. They're going to blow them out again. Zags to the Elite Eight. USC, Iowa. I like the backcourt matchup here a lot. Ethan Anderson and Jordan Bohannon and Joe Wieskamp. But I like Iowa's offense just more. So I think we got a rematch from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Gonzaga taking on Iowa in the Elite Eight. Now let's go down to the Sweet 16 games in the East. All right. Where I had Michigan taking on Florida State. and we had Texas taking on Alabama. This is where the Isaiah Livers injury catches up to Michigan. Lack of perimeter scorers. Florida State's defense throttles the Wolverines, and the Seminoles advance to the Elite Eight, yet again under Leonard Hamilton. Texas, Alabama. I have really fallen for the Longhorns since I saw them early in the season. Great size, depth. Matt Coleman, great leader. I like Texas. I like Texas beating Alabama and playing Florida State. We'd have a 4-3 matchup in the Elite Eight in the East. Let us go now to the South Elite Eight. Or Sweet 16, excuse me, getting to the Elite Eight. Baylor, Purdue. This is where Purdue's run ends, and the Baylor Bears advance to the Elite Eight as expected. Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, and Ohio State. Ohio State gets the best of Texas Tech. Mac McClung has a hard time with C.J. Walker and Dwayne Washington. Ohio State advances to play Baylor. Now let's go down to the Midwest Sweet 16. Illinois taking on Oklahoma State. Iowa versus Cade Cunningham. Wow, what a matchup. Love it. But Illinois advances. Just too many options, and Kofi Coburn's going to be a handful. West Virginia, Rutgers. That is an old Big East brawl. I mean, there is going to be everything but fisticuffs in that one. A lot of fouls. I like the Mountaineers to advance. Illinois, West Virginia in the Elite Eight. All right, let's pause for a minute and take two questions as we go to the Elite Eight. Let's go first to a couple of questions here. If you had to pick one player who could go on a crazy run and put his team on his back, who is it? Well, it's Cade Cunningham. He could lead them to the Final Four, at least as I have him right now, to the Sweet 16. Let's go to the next question. Which team ranked 6th or higher could make a Final Four run? I think my Tar Heels have a shot. 6th or higher. Wow. I did not see these questions before. So, it's funny. I had UConn going out early, but as a 7, they could certainly, make me some crow and go on a nice run. LSU could, because I think Michigan is beatable in that side of the bracket. I would also say that as I look here, Carolina could. I wouldn't be shocked by that. And I'll give you one more. Well, Rutgers. I got Rutgers. All right, let us go to the Elite Eight. All right, our Elite Eight matchup. Gonzaga, Iowa. The Zags ran away from the Hawkeyes back in December in South Dakota, and they're going to do it again. Gonzaga off to the Final Four, representing the West, continuing their undefeated run, trying to win a national championship for the first time, an undefeated team since 1976. All right, now to the East. Florida State, Texas. Florida State, Texas. Whew. This is going to be very physical. You've got bigs on both sides. You've got strong guards. But, he's been to the Final Four before with VCU. I think he gets there. It's unfortunate to deny Leonard Hamilton that chance at the Final Four. But I think Texas advances to the Final Four, winning the East, coming off of that momentum of winning the Big 12 tournament title. So I've got Gonzaga taking on Texas in one semifinal. Let's go to the Elite Eight in the South. Baylor taking on Ohio State. We've been talking all season long about a Baylor-Gonzaga matchup. But, we always have to see what the bracket delivers for us. And Ohio State was one of the best teams in the country early. They stumbled a little bit in the middle of the Big Ten season, and they showed during the Big Ten tournament they're still one of the best teams in the country. I think Ohio State advances to the Final Four and knocks off Baylor. So we got, so far, Gonzaga, Texas, and Ohio State. What happens in the Midwest? Do we get a second Big Ten team? Illinois taking on West Virginia. Once again, a very physical game. Woo! There are going to be a lot of fouls called. It's going to be intense, but I like the Illini. You got Brad Underwood, former Bob Huggins assistant at Kansas State. A lot of good storylines here. I like the Illini. Destiny right there for the Illini. We saw it in the Big Ten tournament. This team is determined. I think the Illini get to the Final Four. So Ohio State, Illinois, 2 Big Ten teams, Gonzaga, and Texas. Let us take some questions here. Just one here. What number two seed has the best chance to make the Final Four? Well, obviously it's Ohio State because I picked them. All right. Now let's go to our Final Four. Gonzaga taking on Texas. And Ohio State, Illinois. Let's first deal with Gonzaga, Texas. I picked the Zags at the beginning of the season. I didn't know they'd go undefeated. But offensively, they're the best team in the country. They're going to be so amped at this point. They've been dedicated to get to this point. They advanced to the national championship game for the second time in 4 years. They were there in 2017, lost to Carolina. Other side of the bracket, rematch of what we just saw in the Big Ten tournament title game on Sunday. It was an overtime game. I figure we're going to get another overtime game between the two. And Illinois is going to advance again, outlasting Ohio State in another classic. So we're going to get the matchup that I so desperately wanted, which was Gonzaga, Illinois. I think are the 2 best teams in the NCAA tournament, and at this point in the season are the 2 best teams in the NCAA tournament. It doesn't always work out this way, that the bracket delivers for you the best teams, but that's exactly what has happened for us here. And I picked Gonzaga at the beginning of the year. I'm going with the Zags to win the national championship in what I believe will be a classic championship game, very much what we saw between Villanova and North Carolina in 2016. I can't predict the buzzer beater, but the 2 offenses, the big shot makers on both sides, I think we're headed for a classic. And if we get this Final Four, if we get this national championship matchup on April 5th and all goes to plan, wow. I mean, everything will be just so perfect. So I hope you do. First of all, I just would love if all this works out. And I'm so happy that Reese's was our title sponsor here because it is by far the best candy. There's too many of them, and I could eat them all. But I'm training for another half marathon in the spring that's going to run. So anyway, this is our bracket breakdown presented by Reese's. My Final Four: Gonzaga, Texas, Ohio State, Illinois. Gonzaga is your 2021 national champion in Indianapolis. Thanks for watching. We got our podcast coming up. Look at this. Abby Stoltz. I should do a Katz ranks of my top 5 players built for March Madness. It's a good idea. Maybe we'll do that. I need some water after I do this, though. Thanks for watching. Make sure you follow our bracket. I'll be here in the Turner Studios the next couple weeks, joining the crew. Ernie Johnson, Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, Candace Parker, Adam Lefko. We're going to have a lot of fun here. But if there are too many of these, I'm in trouble. Thanks for watching, everyone.